Bro,
Uh,
so are we in our Hindustani Muslim Faustian Spirit era or what?
Always have been, bro. Always have been. This is actually something I've been pondering a lot for the past 2 months while I've been in my minor occultation, while I've been away. As you can see, like I'm all tanned out and stuff. But yeah, this is something I've been pondering a lot, and it's led me to some very, very interesting conclusions. Yeah. Have you been thinking about it?
Bro, I've been thinking about it a lot.
Yeah.
It's been supercharged by all the 14th August
Yeah.
discourse,
Yeah.
all of the what if partition never happened
Yeah.
discourse. And, it's ranged from people having the usual uh, celebration of our country in spirit and to me discovering kids saying things like the partition should never have happened.
Yeah.
Look at India's GDP.
Yeah.
We would have been so,
Don't talk to me about the highlights today.
you know,
I just got back.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but in when it comes in particular to the Hindustani Muslim spirit, the thing that struck me is there's a lot of discourse online about partition itself
Yeah.
and how we should not glorify it.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you earlier that celebrating partition has never meant or has never tried to say कि यार ये कोई मतलब मेला लगा हुआ था, हम सब जाके ना और हमने सब ने जाके धमाल डाला था, बहुत मजा आया था,
वीलियां मार रहे थे.
वीलियां मार रहे थे, एकॉन का छमक छलो चल रहा था, and
हाँ.
like the idea, the weight of partition has always been that through this sacrifice we got what we have today.
Yeah.
Right. We'll come to what we have today later and
Yeah.
why it's why we may not be where we want to be. That's a separate story.
Yeah.
Right. But that act in the moment, in and of itself, especially people whose families migrated to this country, that's my family, that's your family.
Yeah.
Because we genuinely believed that this would be a place where we could find our fortune,
Yeah.
live a better life.
Yeah.
Through great personal, physical, financial pain,
Yeah.
made that journey. Ask them, right? They will tell you of their pain. They will also tell you of the hope that they felt. And a significant number of them will tell you that they do not regret doing that.
Yeah.
Right? Because there was the initial migrations of 47.
Yeah.
Then there was a migration, in the 50s. Bro, 80s, 90s tak, right? A lot of Indian Muslims stopped going to, they stopped coming here. But I know people in Karachi whose families who stayed in India after the Babri Masjid incident, after the Gujarat riots, left and went to the UK, went to Canada, went to all of these places, right? Yeah, sure, they didn't choose to come here. Well, that's another story.
Yeah.
But that act in and of itself, trauma, violence, all of these things are intrinsic to sacrifice. That's why it's sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's why it's noble. Now, as opposed to having a productive conversation as to how we can live up to that sacrifice, live up to that legacy, and turn this country into something meaningful. Rather than doing that, if we begin bemoaning what happened then, project the normalcy we have now to 1947 and say कि ये pain and trauma तो होना ही नहीं चाहिए था.
Yeah.
I would invite you to look at the slums of India. I would like you to look at, we've had a local, there's been localized.
Look at the fact that the vast majority of Muslims in India live as a permanent underclass.
You're either
With Javed Akhtar,
or
you're living in some ethnic enclave.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least you don't have that, right? On the point of violence and modern states, tell me a modern state that was not found on the basis of violence. You'd be hard pressed. There's no such state. Modern France, founded by the French Revolution, there was violence. Modern Germany, between the Weimar Republic and Nazi Germany into normal like West Germany, East Germany, and then Germany again. Violence has always been there. North and South Korea, North and South Vietnam, China.
China's a
Mao
prime
Zedong,
example.
the Great Leap Forward, they call their, 20, 30 million people died, they refer to it as a Great Leap Forward,
And like,
this
bro,
is a sacrifice. Like, I'm not justifying the violence,
Yeah.
but violence is, baked into the idea of the modern state. Look at America, the world's hegemon, the manifest destiny spreading westwards. You don't think there was violence involved? The Civil War.
the Civil War,
Civil
literally.
War.
Literally.
Tell me a modern state that does not. Britain, like, you had the Irish revolts and you had all of that stuff going on. Like, there's no such state that does not have modern state that does not have violence involved in it.
There's something to be said, yes, about the mismanagement at the time that led to a lot of wanton violence, that led to literal roving, marauding gangs of sectarian killers. All of those things are real.
Yeah.
None of those things are good. None of those things are, God forbid, we ever have to go through them, right?
Yeah.
We have lived in Karachi, we grew up with a lot of, they were like bomb blasts and target killings and all of those things. That's not the same as a literal breakdown of law and order all around you.
Yeah.
This is not to romanticize that in the sense that what happened in terms of violence was good, but it is to say that a lot of people willingly undertook that, engaged in that journey, engaged in those what are they called, ghost trains, or to come here, risked it all, and a very large number of them did not regret it. A lot of the cynicism that you see in Muhajir communities in Karachi now is something that has welled up in the last 10, 15, 20 years, yes.
Yeah.
And we felt at times a lot of marginalization before that as well, right? But by and large, if you go to any Urdu-speaking Memon majority area of Karachi, they're not sitting there in existential regret for ever having come to this country.
Yeah.
That's not the overwhelming sentiment.
No.
That's not what it is. And it's one thing to be said that, you say that, you guys did well, you're coming from privilege. Go to a lower middle class neighborhood. The overwhelming majority is not telling you that, we regretted coming here.
Yeah.
We regretted migrating. Instead, it's the opposite. It's that us migrating for the sake of this place is a sense of pride.
Yeah.
It's a thing that we don't live up to it.
Yeah.
We don't live up to that sacrifice that our forefathers did.
Yeah.
But it is still something that we hearken back to and say that we would like to live up to their standard.
Yeah.
And then maybe make something of this place. As opposed to destructive cynicism.
There's a degree of mythologization of, an ideal that happened way in the past. The past always lends credence and legitimacy to an ideal, So I don't know if you ever even live up to some platonic ideal of what Pakistan should be, but Pakistan is just, the secular modern terminology for an idea that has preceded even these new national boundaries, a homeland for the Hindustani Muslims. You can argue that this started from the time of bin Qasim. You can argue that the Mughals embodied this ideal. You can argue that the Delhi Sultanate embodied these ideals, right? So this has always existed, the idea that, like this one particular thing was a mistake because it caused a lot of violence. Sweetheart, you're missing the forest from the trees. Violence and, some degree of, chaos has always been the foundation of imperial expansion and stuff. If you want to make the argument, the more Julius Evola quoted, like, we live in the Kali Yuga and all of this is a mistake, and the idea of the modern state is a bastardization in of itself. I'm sympathetic to that idea. I think that actually has some like intellectual like basis to it. But to single out this one particular thing as like, oh no, this is particularly bad and we should particularly distance ourselves from it. Buddy, you're missing the forest from the trees. Tell me, like I said earlier, tell me a modern state that was not found on violence.
Bro, it's not just that. Look, most people, this is a worldview thing.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental outlook.
Yeah.
Where you have this, India's GDP is so big. What if we had all just stayed together and then our material conditions might be a little better? So it's like
250 million Muslims in Pakistan, 250 in Bangladesh, 200 in India, we'd be 700 million. Yeah, we would. It's not a bad argument, but the point should be, how about all of us 700, 750 get together and like reestablish the Mughal Empire? Why the f do we want to live with them? Like, let's go.
Why do you want like your your wet dream after 1,000 years of ruling over the subcontinent. We
Hey,
should
let's
live.
set second fiddle to these guys. We ruled over like 700-800 years. Like,
Yeah.
you.
No, and-
You know, and even look at the geographical determinism of it. Bro, we are on the west, we are in the east. The biggest Indian Muslim population is right in the smack in the middle. Brother, we have them surrounded. And the best you can do is, hey, let's live by their rules, you know? Let's all like, Dalit max. Like, what the is wrong with you, bro?
Like they,
You know what I mean?
actually, their idea is let's all get together and turn into a permanent underclass, right? What we're seeing in India right now, and again, like the idea is people are, like this is going to be the retort, right? People are going to come and say that, oh, what has Pakistan given you? Are the poor in Pakistan in materially really that better conditions than the poor in India are? There is actually an argument there. The idea is not, for me at least, it's not what Pakistan is as it stands today, but is
what
it
can it
that
be?
as an independent polity,
Yeah.
do you have more potential if you actually wake up and make an effort
Yeah.
to flourish in this apparatus, this dhacha of Pakistan, or in a united India? I would argue it is definitely the former, which is
Definitely.
why when I say we should be grateful for Pakistan, it's not for everything that's happening today, all the things that are going wrong. It's not, I'm not asking you to worship the state or any of those things.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that it is something worth fixing. It is something worth fighting for. That is the Hindustani Muslim spirit. That I think
Faustian
that's what
spirit.
Pakistani nationalism, quote unquote, is. And that's what 14th August should be about. And therefore, in my mind, there is no trade off between having everything to say about how things are, criticizing it, trying to better it, trying to engage with it in good faith. So the conclusion of everything I'm trying to say is that there is no trade-off between criticizing all the things that are wrong in your country. We love talking about feudalism, we love talking about banksters, we love talking about all these things that we think form the real long-term subjects of reform in this country, as opposed to party-bazi, mudslinging, all the stuff that you guys like to do. Okay, so there is that cause. And then the Pakistan is that cause to be won, to be realized.
Yeah.
And you can do all of that, and then you can also say, I love the idea of my country, I love the ambition and all the good things that we presently do have, because we do have a lot of resilience and a lot of good things.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, you don't have to be cynical. Your realism and your ideological commitments can go hand in hand.
Yes, sir, they can. On the topic itself, right? Okay, so now we've got this mouthful, the Hindustani Muslim Faustian Spirit. Okay, what does this actually mean? You know, like I said, I've been pondering it. I don't really have the words to explain it. You know, the best I can do is like, I'm going to invoke the inner Plato in me, and I won't explain it, but I will give you an analogy or a metaphor or a story through which you can understand what this can mean.
And why Pakistan as a country, as a society, is the true inheritor of the Hindustani Muslim Faustian spirit.
Yeah. So let me tell you guys a fun story, okay? So I was in London right now, okay? I was at a function, okay? I was at this function, and I was with like my group of Pakistani boys. There were some Indians there and Arabs there who had just gotten into a fight right before we came. बेचारे अरबों की मतलब नाक शाक फट गई है, थोड़ी बुरी हालत है. हम आते हैं, हम बोलते हैं यार क्या हो गया तुम boys को यार? यार इन इंडियनों के साथ हमारी बीमारी हो गई, थोड़ी नाक शाक फट गई, सर पर फट गया. Then we're like, यार that sucks, man. If we were here, we would have taken care of these guys. They are boys, they're good friends. Like चलो ठीक है, सही है. Night goes on, whatever, we're having a fun time, we're at the function. At a certain late hour, we decide, being the rowdy group of Pakistani laundas that we are, why don't we do arm wrestling over here, right in the middle of the function? Why the not? Sounds like a great idea. Let's just arm wrestle.
Did you get a crowd in?
This one, listen. So we start arm wrestling, we're all going at it, we're all getting macho like Pakistani bravado, like, we're invoking the spirit of Shoaib Akhtar as we speak, twirling our mustaches. We're arm wrestling and stuff. The champions of the Arabs plays the champion of the Pakistanis. It was a good game. The Pakistani won, and he was crowned the champion of this one little circuit. And we have a nice crowd going on at this point, people are watching onwards, people are getting engaged. It's crazy, you got white girls looking on, like who are these, Middle Eastern Orientalist chads So we're having a great time, okay? There's this one guy in the crowd, this African fellow, must be 6'5", 280 pounds. Bro, the guy is built like an NFL linesman. Jack, like fucking scary guy. Like there's a guy I do not want to meet in an alley at night, okay? He's like, I want to play the best over here. And then my Pakistani Giga Chat friend is like, that's me, brother. Let's play. Mind you, the guy I'm talking about, right? He's about my size, 5'10", 5'11", give or take, maybe 160, 170 pounds. Not a very, very big guy, very strong guy. Not a very, very big guy. They get into it. Brother, I you not. He beats the African fellow. We are all in like delirium. Like, what the have we just seen, Bro, the size difference is insane. He manages to beat him, use a little bit of extra body weight or whatever, but like, bro,
it's like Ronnie Coleman versus Shoaib Akhtar.
Yeah, it's like, but at that type of a size difference, right, it should not matter if you use a little bit of extra body weight, lean on and stuff, and we're all going berserk. We're like, bro, what the have we just seen? I look to my Arab friend and I'm like, this is what you signed a defense agreement with. And he's like, I'm like, in my mind, I've got like Zia edits going on in my mind. Like, I'm going crazy. I'm like, this is what the Hindustani Muslim Faustian Spirit means. There is no force on earth that can undo a group of rowdy Pakistani laundas. Remember the corner tigers of 92? That's what the Hindustani Muslim Faustian Spirit means, So, we are all like in a fucking altered state at this point. We're going crazy. We're like, oh, what the fuck happened? One of my boys goes to the Kalu. He's like, I can't believe you lost. The Kalu's about to murder my other friend. He's like, I didn't lose. He was cheating and this and that. And I'm like, bro, I'm sorry. That guy's different. He could use 2 arms. And if you lose, that's a fucking shame, So we're having time of our life, The white girls are looking on, like, love jihad shuru ho gayi hai, game on hai. And, that for me is, what the Hindustani Muslim Faustian Spirit is, like I said, and people are always like so focused on this idea of, soft image of Pakistan, sir. Let's show them our truck art and our mangoes and our AI edited K2 like pictures. But bro, that is not your soft image. Your soft image has always been this bad boy thug, archetype Shoaib Akhtar,
punching above your weight,
Gandhi Hawaiian shirt, chain nikle hue, harami boys, ponche hue, corner tigers. That's the fucking essence, Like all this soft. That's what we are. That's what it means, Punching above your weight, fucking imperialism, bro. Like that. And for me, I know I sound like a total degen frat boy right now. On some degree, I am. But truly, this is what it means to be Pakistani. And then, even though we live in this world of like softwares, we've like, you look at a Pakistani cricket team today, they don't have that moxie, that bravado that like, Shahid Afridi and Wasim Akram and, Kaptan used to have. They're a bunch of little soft boys. But on some level, in our souls, that thing exists.
100%.
That primordial Hindustani Muslim Faustian spirit. And yeah, it was fantastic. And that's the best way I can explain what this concept is. If the Indians up, we look to the Arabs like, that's who we are. That's what you signed a defense agreement with, my friend.
No, that's sick, bro. That's sick.
Yeah.
Speaking of the defense agreement itself,
yeah.
What are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
I like it. Like, I don't see what's there not to like about this. We keep created like this nice little crescent in the region, Turkey, Saudi, Pakistan.
I think it bodes really well because think about how just a few years ago, MBS was reportedly very upset with us for trying to attend a conference with Malaysia and Turkey because he viewed that as a counter bloc forming, right? Or he viewed that as a dilution of his contract of exclusivity with Pakistan or the very deep relationship we've had with them.
Yeah.
For that to turn around in a matter of years and turn into a full-blown defense agreement is, I think, incredible. And that, age-old rivalry of like Turkey, Saudi, Pakistan.
Yeah.
All 3 of these countries, all 3 of us to some extent, view ourselves as like the inheritors in the modern day of like the baton of Muslim power. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Or like the Islamic legacy. Let's call it that.
Yes.
The Saudis, they're in the Hijaz, bro. They've got Mecca and Medina. They're the custodians of the 2 holy cities. Yeah. Of course, they're going to feel like that because they've got like this direct lineage thing going on.
Yes.
The Ottomans most recently had the Ottoman Empire. We've got the Mughals. We all have a claim.
Faustian Spirit.
Yeah. So we can all stake a claim to this legacy, right?
Yeah.
But what's the best version of that? the best version of that is a level of cooperation between all three as opposed to cutthroat competition.
Yeah.
Right? A cooperative competition is better.
Yes.
And to some extent, do I know all of the pros and cons of the agreement yet? No, I have not looked into it close enough. I have not spoken to enough people. But does this arrangement potentiate something great for us in the future? I absolutely think so.
Absolutely.
And the rising threat of, post the Iran-Israel confrontation, where you've got Israeli ministers saying Turkey is the imminent threat, all of that, it is high time for us to band together. The Iran's resistance against the Israelis and the Americans has also woken the Gulf states up when they've been attacked to the fact that they are vulnerable. And it opens up a future where Pakistan is a net security guarantor, a security provider, a security cornerstone for the entirety of West Asia.
Yeah.
And I think that there's critique. There's a critique of this which says that you're a hired gun. You're a rentier state, you're up for sale. And that, say, the Musharraf era cooperation in Afghanistan gave you a lot of material goods. Earlier cooperation, Zia era, gave you a lot of material goods, but that made you complacent. That's why you're an IMF program after IMF program. You're fiscally in tatters, all of those things. And which is why today we're having such a long trudge to make up for all of it. We're going through extreme fiscal discipline as of the past few years, right? And generally heading in the right direction, but it's tough. Right? It's not a clean transition at all. And this is the accumulation of decades of misdeeds. So the idea then becomes, were you to again act as a hired gun in this area, would that accrue massive material benefits, and would that again make you complacent, right? That will always remain a risk in a country like ours, with a temperament and a mercurial national temperament like ours. We're susceptible to that, but it is still a net positive.
I think so, but honestly, I still wouldn't be like, I love the symbolic value of it so far. It's to be seen how deep the integration really goes, because we're comparing it to Muslim NATO. Now NATO primarily also works because, bro, you have deep economic ties between all of those countries, right? There's free flow of labor, capital, all these type of things. They're in a free economic zone, right? And that kind of deepened the level of cooperation and integration of those states, in which is why NATO has become so powerful, right? I think that without a degree of that type of economic and political integration, like financial integration, it's going to kind of be tough to live up to kind of the billing of this entire thing. It remains to be seen where, like, a fight between Pakistan and India, does Ankara really want to get militarily involved in that? A fight between, like, Ankara and Jerusalem, do we really want to get involved in that, right? And that's where the economic integration and stuff comes in, where it's like it's our bottom line there as well.
No, I
one
absolutely-
person attacking, like, let's say Spain, it bodes trouble for all of Europe, because that's how deeply integrated they are. One Greece having a little economic problem caused a problem for the entire Eurozone, So there's an element of, if you stack the dominoes that high, there's a great payout return, but any structural insecurity will over all of us.
No, I fully
there
agree.
is an element of that in it. And I do think that it is going to be very, very important at some point to get the smaller states into this, the smaller Levantine states, your Syrias, your Jordans and stuff, because any chink in the armor can be exploited. You don't want to have, like, insurgency groups coming out of smaller states and stuff, because we've seen this time and time again. Smaller states can really, really make big problems for bigger states, especially if they've got, like, foreign patronization and all of these things, right? So it remains to be seen. I am bullish on it. I think it can be really, really good, but I would be looking to, like, how can we get the smaller states involved, and how can we increase our economic integration?
No,
really.
Look, hence the idea that it potentiates cooperation, right?
Yeah.
And you already see signs of that, where when
Sorry, one more thing. Super interested in how can we get Iran to some degree involved in this,
Yeah,
because
no,
they
100%.
occupy the belt that separates all three of us. If those guys are in, right, then I think we're really, really cooking with gas, because that entire region is a neo-Abbasic caliphate, basically.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree.
You need those
I
guys too.
agree. whatever the calculus around Iran looks like, it has to be factored in.
Yeah.
Ideally, there's a high level of cooperation,
Yeah.
right? But it has to be factored in.
Yeah.
It's important for.
You've got other very, very relevant states like, Azerbaijan and stuff.
Yeah.
More powerful.
No, but overall, when it comes to this agreement in particular,
yeah.
it still can bode well for us, even as
I
it
agree.
stands, right? So for example, little things, we've got little signs right now, which are, say, during the war days, when the UAE asked for its money back,
Yeah.
right? It's bolstered instead. It's made up for, our foreign reserves are made up for by the Saudis.
And I think we signed some agreement with Kuwait.
And
also just now, right?
we've had, since then, even generally over the past 2 or 3 years, we've had a lot of high-profile Saudi delegations coming. We've been going.
Yeah.
The push to have deeper ties is definitely there. Again, we live in a very unpredictable country.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it will happen.
Yeah.
But the direction can potentially turn into something good.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That I'm in full agreement. I'm in full agreement for. But
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just gonna hold my breath before it's paper symbolism or it's like really deep integration. The raw material is there. You got Saudi capital and geopolitical clout. You got Turkish industry, proper ground for NATO level ground forces. Their defense industry is fantastic. They're making 5th generation fighter jets indigenously. And with us, of course, you've got
And
like
the drones and stuff are crazy.
yeah, we've got manpower, battle hardened military, a good location, nukes, of course, the raw materials are there, but can we cook up something really that supreme? Remains to be seen. I am confident. I am, hopeful, but these things take time.
The general sentiment which I hope is real
Yeah.
is that the hard camps that the Muslim world was divided into,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even like a sectarian split alone, right? It was that, but then it was beyond that. It was like, why can't Saudi and Turkey see eye to eye, for instance, right? But those things calming down in the long run, and a big part of it is like a lot of people saw MBS as villainous and as this irredeemable figure because of his earlier closeness to the Americans or what were perceived as American interests. But as the Saudis have gone closer to China, as they've pivoted away from their issues with Iran, that's also softened, right? Until the war, at least, it had. Now it's a bit of a different story.
Yeah.
The general increasing closeness of the Muslim world is nothing that's material in like the foreseeable or the close near future. But are we seeing a trend beginning to emerge? I would cautiously say maybe.
Yeah. I know that I agree with.
Well, I also had a LARPer tier list. The LARPer tier list, and it was Adrien, Brody, Ayaan, Hirsi, Ali, Gad, Saad.
Adrien, Brody, why is he a LARPer?
Bro, because his acting is great. Have you seen his art?
Huh?
You've seen his art?
No, I haven't seen
Bro,
his
you
art.
have to see that shit.
I feel like it's very, very rare for somebody to be a multidisciplinary artist.
Bro, I understand that he's a brilliant actor. I've never disagreed with that. I really like the guy.
He's a good actor, yeah.
Bro, his art is the most whack shit.
What does he create?
Bro, it's absolute bullshit. It's like trying to be Andy Warhol, but it's really disgusting.
Yeah.
It's like there's a Raising Cane's ka sign, and then he's plastered other newspapers on top of it, and he'll come in like the worst way. He'll be like, oh, this painting is called lesbian dance theory, and I thought of it when I met my lesbian friend in Bushwick. And
the thing is that Adrien Brody feels like he's too happy in life to be a good artist.
Bro,
he seems like a cheerful guy. Like he's like, he's kind of cool. He's a good actor. He's got his like swag. Like you've got to be kind of in the head to be a good artist.
And then
like painter,
LeBron,
right?
LeBron. Yeah, I read that book. Like that type of shit.
Yeah.
Like,
And if you want to talk about LARPers, what about this guy Jason Alday who like just offed himself, right? Isn't he like the God-tier LARper?
That's great.
But that is what happened, right? He
yeah.
got caught for LARPing too hard. He got it's fine, you can LARP, but you gotta kind of be self-aware of the LARP. Like, okay, where am I taking the LARP too far?
And then ex-Muslim Ayaan Hirsi Ali.
She's
Bro,
a joke, bro.
the reason she's a crazy LARP to me is because I saw an interview where she kept saying, "We in Western civilization, we." I'm like, bro, they literally think you're subhuman because you're Somali.
Yeah.
Okay, and you are subhuman, but it's not because you're Somali.
Yeah.
It's because you're like this, like
Yeah.
it's because you're a LARPer.
Yeah.
It's because you're a like we in the Western civilization. We should be proud of what we've built. You're not on the team, buddy. You're
Yeah.
not on the team. Like,
Sometimes it's like, bro, like the West is kind of chalked right now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, they like I look at it and I'm like the only thing in the West that's really cool is like, you know, your Peter Thiel like groupings. You know, you're like, you know, extremely like Machiavellian, like political elite. They're like, they've got it going on right now. They're
Yeah.
fucking cool. They're making deals and shit. But like the Goyim, it's like, bro, I'd much rather be a Pakistani Goyim than like a British Goyim at this point.
Bro, absolutely.
Yeah, like
Abso-
as a Goyim,
and-
as a Goyim myself, like I like being a Pakistani Goyim. You know?
Bro, another person I had was Gad Saad, bro. Sad.
Saad.
Gad Sad. Bro, because this guy is, he's a,
5'2" Gad Saad.
yeah, bro, chud build, just like fully milking his time in Lebanon, a country where, yes, of course, I'm aware that minorities have faced persecution in Lebanon. I'm not insensitive to that fact, but like, you've got an institutionalized tripartite arrangement where I think at any given time, between the president, prime minister, and the speaker of their assembly, I believe,
Yeah.
there's a split between a Sunni, a Shia, and a Christian, right? You've got some institutionalization of rights there, but like, that's secondary. The real reason I think he's an absolute LARPer is because he again does the we in Western civilization. Like he wants to be like the exotic, yeah, what is that guy's name? The one who's Brett Weinstein.
Yeah.
Weinstein, Brett Weinstein.
Yeah.
Like that's what he thinks he is,
Yeah.
right?
The intellectual dark web.
Yeah, and he thinks that I'm like the Middle East breakaway representative. He's like as good as those North Korean defectors.
Yeah.
Like that's what he thinks in his mind, that I've defected from like the most oppressive country in the world,
Yeah.
and now I need to go tell. He thinks that he's he's like ascended from the cave, and now he's come back. And now he needs to enlighten everyone. Like he needs to tell
Bro,
the West how
all
bad
I
it
know
is.
about this guy is that Nassim Taleb, who's like a pretty base Lebanoni guy, Lebanoni bhai hamara, he is always like boarding Gad Saad on Twitter, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
He's the
And
black
you know what's-
swan, wala,
like,
anti-fragile.
You know what's
Yeah.
super like depressing? The downfall of Elon, bro. There was a time when Elon was based, like like now he's like retweeting Gad Saad and like.
I don't know
come on,
about
bro.
based, bro.
Like there was a time where like he actually stood for something that was like kind of cool. Not like with the dog shit and stuff, but I'm like early on he was this maverick Howard Hughes 2.0 eccentric, like we're gonna colonize the space and stuff, and like that was kind of his brand.
The thing
And that
is,
was cool.
Elon
He was like a Faustian character,
Bro, Elon is objectively doing. I've never seen someone who is objectively doing such cool stuff, but is also such a monumental loser at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, bro, the guy seems genuinely unwearable. Like, you've seen that Ayaan become mean.
Yeah.
Saying, bro, like this is genuinely, stuck in middle school. No one laughed at my jokes, so I'm gonna come like.
Like if you're gonna be like a political Machiavellian, like super genius, like do it the Peter Thiel way,
Yeah.
come onto a podcast and like stutter whether you want humanity to continue existing or not.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of cool. That's aura. Like Peter Thiel has mad aura. I love Peter Thiel. Like I'm not gonna lie, this guy is like one of my role models. I love Peter Thiel. Take away the absolute psychopathy and homosexuality aside, I think he's f***ing based. You know what I mean? Like he's some philosophy student who just managed to like rack up like 40 billion, and he's one of the most consequential political players in the world just because he wants to be. Like that's kind of cool. Like not gonna lie, that's like the dream career trajectory.
Wrong mission, right method. That's where I stand on Peter Thiel. I plainly, in no uncertain terms, I'm not intellectualizing this. I think he's evil.
Yeah. No, I do agree.
Yeah, I know you. I know you agree. But like to support your point, the method is absolutely how you need to play societal change.
Yeah.
You need to there's intellectual dark web, and then there's actually like the concatenations of the Thiel network and Thiel scholars or whatever.
Yeah.
And picking up JD Vance by the collar when he's like a little puppy at Yale, and raising him through the ranks, doing like a sulah between Trump and him and Mar-a-Lago, and then having your guy as assassination insurance inside the White House. That is insane.
Yeah.
You're essentially now you've expanded, right? But you know, like initially you were primarily a CIA contractor.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
Palantir starts.
Yeah.
And just to give a glimpse, I have a point with this.
Yeah.
To give people a glimpse into how evil this guy's work is, one of the things they do is when when Gaza gets bombed, they use the pings of telephone cell towers to see how survivors have scattered. So a bomb falls, they see everyone running away from the area, right? And then they model that to predict what a human being's crisis response is. And then they sell that to, for example, one of their clients is the NHS, to tell them that if you ever have a mass domestic casualty event at home, this is how people are likely to react. So they harvest that information and then they sell it off to.
You're making me sound really, really bad when I said I love Peter Thiel right now. You know
No,
that,
no.
right?
But I'm coming to a point
but
with this.
you
I'm
know,
saying,
yeah.
imagine having that brain which does this kind of psychopathic evil stuff, but using it for the good.
Yeah.
Using it for the good and using it with the effectiveness of the method that he's used. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
I don't disagree.
Right.
Like, yeah, disclaimer, I don't think he's a great
Yeah.
human being. I just think like he's a winner, which he is. And I tend to like winners. I don't like losers.
Yeah,
I never like
that's
losers.
what you can see. One thing you can say about him, this guy is not LARPing.
Yeah.
Like I read one of his early essays. I think he wrote it in like
Straussian moment?
or something. I don't remember which it was. I read it sometime
Straussian
last
moment
year.
is really good.
In which like in the first couple of paragraphs where he's arguing why modern democracy does not work, and it's like going on anti-women and anti-minority tirades and stuff.
Yeah.
It's again, people are gonna be like, "Are you justifying?" No, I'm not justifying anything. I'm saying like it is
That's an
intellectually
intellectual
argued.
heavyweight.
It's
Well, the guy studied in Rene
Yeah.
Girard. He's a
Yeah.
proper like he's not like some small time philosophical mind. You're referring to the Straussian moment, by the
and
way.
this is why
And that's
people-
actually how I got into Strauss. Through that essay.
okay.
Yeah.
But and the thing is, this is why like anyone who's not on Thiel's side in America, the reason they keep losing is because when someone like me or you comes and says, "Oh, this evil thing is brilliantly argued," they'll say, "No, actually, he's just stupid.
Yeah.
He's just stupid. He's a plant." And it's like, no,
He's just an angry homosexual guy. Like
and the reason you're so you're gonna keep losing is because you're so dismissive of his perverted brilliance.
Absolutely. You know the story about how he basically there was this publication called Gawker that had outed him for being gay, and then he sat and waited 6 years to find the perfect case to bankroll, and he bankrupted Gawker. I
Yeah,
think it was
I
Hulk
saw.
Hogan's sex tape that Gawker ended up leaking,
Yeah.
and he waited for that opportunity and he bankrupted them. Like that's evil genius level shit. Like cool, that's based. Drink the blood of your enemies, bro. Like honestly, sometimes it's really, really cynical, but I think my politics just comes down to I like winners. I do not like moralizing losers. I just like winners. I only really care about winners. I'm only really interested in what the winners are doing and what the winners have to say. I don't have to agree with their cause, but like I just have admiration for the fact that I think they're winners. Do you get what I mean?
No, I understand. My position does not align with that. I definitely think there are noble causes. They
Yeah.
lost. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think people who are. I think there's actually nothing more marde moment maxed than someone on the losing end, but says genuinely like this is how I want to make something work.
But I think that's a winner.
and then does it anyways.
But that's a winner in its own way. Like he won
But then
the
who's a
spiritual
loser?
war. Who's a loser? It's like people who get salty.
No, I agree.
People
So
who get salty.
if we, because look, I do
People who
think
get
that
butthurt.
historically, and I'm not even just talking about like the Muslim tradition or subcontinent or
Yeah.
anything, but anywhere where I think that people have risen up against objective disenfranchisement, being marginalized, if they've
Yeah.
been treated like shit and they've acted out against it,
Based.
I respect that.
Based as fuck.
Okay, and especially look, I'm not advocating being unwise and on day one you're an oppressed minority somewhere and just fighting a battle that has no shot at being won, right? But if you really are squeezed to a point, you have some prospect of success or agitation, and you make your case to that. I think you're
You're a winner in my book. If
yeah,
if
absolutely.
you're a rebel who's really fighting for
Yeah.
something you believe in, you die, you get martyred for something you believe in. You're a winner in my book.
Yeah.
You
Because
won.
for us,
You won the single most valuable thing. That is your soul. You kept your soul. You died with your soul intact. There's no greater winner than somebody like this. When I mean the loser, it's like
Yeah.
you're just salty, envious.
Yeah.
You don't have the power to actually even stand up to them. You don't have the power to actually try to like change your situation, or at the very least have the conviction to fight and die for it.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I really have no time for you guys.
No, I
You know what
agree
I
with
mean?
that.
I really
I agree
don't
with that.
care.
It's and a lot of the social media activist class for me becomes this,
Yeah,
because it's like you actually have nothing at stake,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like this is small. I'm not saying this is a great sacrifice, but like uh, I, I have a corporate career,
Yeah.
right? I come out and say some out of pocket things. Could that potentially at some point be a liability for me? Yes, but it's like it is what it is.
I mean, same. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a similar handicap, which is why a lot of the times things I want to say I can't say,
Yeah.
right?
Same.
Or like little things like I recall, I don't think I've ever told this story on camera, but during COVID, I had a professor at U of T. It was like an urban planning class or something. Um, my final essay, she loved so much that she was on the board of uh, this magazine called Metropolitics, I believe. Anyone can look it up. It's a prominent magazine in its niche. Generally publishes experts or postgrads.
Yeah.
But she liked my essay so much. She said, "Can you refine a little bit, make it more publishing friendly, and send it to me over in like 2 weeks
Yeah.
to publish?" Uh, because it was interesting. It was like in Islamabad, I wrote about this commercial area and the intersection of like commerciality and mosques or whatever. The like proper like for the white gaze. Like I actually wrote it for the white gaze, and they loved it.
The
But
white
anyway,
gaze or the white gaze?
the the white gaze,
The white.
the
Okay. The white
gaze,
gaze. Okay.
right? And they loved it. But no, anyways. And then I remember over the winter break contemplating, I looked up the magazine. I was like, okay, like it would be a great start to my scholarly career were I to, in my undergrad, publish in this,
Magazine.
well-regarded magazine or periodical or whatever it was. Uh, and I didn't do it
Yeah.
because it was a French state-funded magazine. And this is the time when there was a lot of controversy over there regarding like, cartoons and, all of these things.
Yeah.
So I was like, bro, honestly, and maybe, I mean, I don't know what this means. I don't know, like, maybe it's an emotional decision. I went back, I looked at that situation and I was like, dude, actually, I don't want anything to do right now with anything that's French state funded. I
mean,
don't want to publish.
Congratulations, you avoided the NGO pipeline.
Yeah,
Congratulations for
yeah,
avoiding the NGO
literally.
pipeline.
And at the peril of the thing is, a lot of like even people we get in the audience that are like, oh, like there is legitimately a section of viewership that would think I'm like elevated and wise if I had been publishing in these like, which like of my own volition I chose to be like I just don't want to go down this pipeline, right?
Fair enough.
But bro, damn.
What is the reason why you wanted to do the burger shop? We always have, commenters asking, tell us about yourself. Okay, why did you want to do the burger shop?
Bro, because I've always been so I think people perceive me, or people who know me perceive me as like a social science guy, but it's like, bro, my primary orientation was always literature, religion, some philosophy, now more philosophy. And then I ended up opting for a much like a very different career. Just yesterday, I met a friend of mine after many years, and I told her that I'm a financial analyst, and she was looking at me like, "What? Like you of all people?"
Yeah.
So I need that balance in my life. I can't throw everything there. And it just that I think that once in a while I have something that's worth being heard that I want to get out there.
Yeah.
Seems to be working
Yeah.
in our very, very niche audience.
Yeah.
People seem to care about the things we say enough that we've got a core. We've
Yeah.
got, and honestly, bro, I want to take this opportunity to shout out the audience, bro. Like the kind of people, the kindred spirits we've come across on this podcast, I did not know people with such monumental amount of game existed in the Pakistani ecosystem.
Yeah.
Bro, like
Absolutely.
the kind of knowledge they've got about theology, politics, their intersection, everything,
Absolutely.
the kind of stuff, bro, we get put on to so many things by our
Oh,
audience,
yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
So I love that. Like, guys, keep reaching out. There have been people, and I've loved this.
We
Like,
respond to messages, by the way. We pretty much
Yeah.
always, unless you say something really, really dumb.
yeah,
But we tend to, even if you're
Yeah.
sending us like a hate message, you'll probably respond, you know. Just don't ask us to like meet you or something. We're not meeting you, bro.
We're not
okay?
meeting
We're not
anyone.
meeting you guys
Yeah.
at some shady cafe and like, you know,
No, I
we're not
think
doing that.
Like,
Yeah.
on our last episode, someone commented like you're podcasting in the way that only 0.001% of Pakistanis will understand, and it's like, dude,
That's okay.
that's fine. Like, this is not a money making operation. This is not that kind of thing for either of us. Never has been. What I like is like we'll like name drop like, I don't know, like Sohrawardi in some podcast, and then some gooner will message us and say, have you read the 3rd volume of the 4th book of Sohrawardi, which he snuck out of his prison before he was executed by Salahuddin Ayyubi? And I'm like, actually, no, I haven't. Can you put me onto it? Like, this is the burger shop experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Bro.
No,
That's what about you?
Why I wanted to do it?
Yeah.
I needed a creative outlet, man.
Yeah.
As simple as like, you know, I've always had like a creative, like, you know, side to me. I would say, you know, I'm a business guy. I run a business. You know, I'm involved in a family business and I run my own business. That's a very, very particular life, and I really, really love it and I enjoy it. And it's what's really important to me.
A
in
lot
my
of
life,
people
but
think
I
we're
also,
full-time podcasters, by the way.
yeah. No. I run a business. I'm part of a family business. Like, yeah, that's what I do. I just needed a creative outlet, man. Like, I just need to, like, you know, this for me is like, this is my art. I'm just doing it because I enjoy it. Like, you know, and it gives like structure to me. Like, you know, okay, now I need to say it in front of camera. So I need to be really, really good at what I'm talking about. So it kind of implores me to read more.
100%.
And like, you know, I can't like half-ass it. Like, if I'm going to sit and talk about Plato's Republic or Leo Strauss or Nietzsche or whatever, right? Like, I can't be a half-ass. I can't half-ass it. It's really like added structure to my own intellectual journey that I've been on from way before I ever started this podcast, right? But it's really kind of supercharged it because now I have an audience. Now I have to perform for the audience, and I need to, like, you know, they hold me accountable to it. And if I make a fool out of myself, like, I don't want to make a fool out of myself, right? So I need to actually know my shit.
And bro,
So it's a creative thing. If I wouldn't get this creative energy out, God knows how I'd be spending it, you know, because I've always had it. And I think it's very, very important for people to just have something that's like, you know, I'm just gonna expend my creative energy through this. It could be anything, but just something that it's like, bro, I don't gain anything materially out of it. The only thing I gain out of it is the fact that it makes my soul happy. That's really why I want to do this, you know. And coming back to it, like, you know,
I said, bro, if we wanted to run this as a commercial operation, we wouldn't be like, forget
we
commercial
swear
operation.
too much. We're too insensitive.
Bro, it's not
We're
even
too,
that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, bro, one thing is obvious. Like, we're not trying to be liked, right? We're not trying to be disliked either, but we're not trying to be liked,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
like,
if we forget commercial operation, if we were like fiending for views, we would not be making 4 reels in a row about Umayyad taxation. Like, that's just, it's not happening, right?
So because we like it. Yeah, we need to talk about what we like.
yeah. And it's like, dude, and you know, I would invite anyone to like go to our page and see what percentage of our content could conceivably be seen as something that will get views.
Yeah.
Very little.
I mean, we have some things
Yeah,
that are like,
but
you know,
that stuff-
it's like, not going to lie, sometimes we do view bait. We're like, you know, we're going to do a Mehdi Hassan rip. We know it's going to get views, you know. We're going to do Desi stereotype. We know it's going to get views. We're going to do some Karachi, Lahore, like mid-tier, like low IQ gossip. We know it's going to get views. So it's not like we're totally insensitive to that. We want views. We want to grow as well. But
that's not our primary orientation.
Yeah, the primary orientation is and always, I think, will be like the philosophy, the history, the actual.
And it's because, you know, you need need to create a funnel because
Yeah.
when we do some of the more middle tier stuff,
Yeah.
right?
It gets people onto like the heavier shit.
Exactly. It's a funnel. Like the day after we did the Nick Land podcast, we had a DHA auntie messaging us for source material on Nick Land.
Yeah.
I think that is phenomenal.
Bro, I remember when we did the first Karachi Lahore one, like that was our big break. We gained like 10, 12,000 followers on
Yeah.
that. And then right after that, we dropped the land one. And I think we lost like 1,000 followers because like, bro, what the
Bro,
I was expecting like some
bro, the
fucking Karachi
day
Lahore
I
voice
knew,
swap.
bro, the day I knew I have gone with the right partner for this project
Yeah.
is that the morning after we got like 500,000 views on the Lahore Karachi podcast, I called you and we were like, what next? And you took the words right out of my mouth, which were, you were like, bro, now we have to do something that's really niche, that will confuse people and make them think, yaar, main kahan aa gaya hu?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, bro, exactly. And then we went to like the, at least by Pakistani standards and even by some Western standards, relatively obscure techno-capital philosophy, etc.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It comes back, I wanted to shift the conversation back to something we were saying. It's like, you don't want to sell out those values and stuff. Like, bro, like, I would rather shutter this and not do it than to, like, have to sell out on what
Absolutely.
matters to me.
Absolutely.
I shuttered it. It's fine. It sucks. At least I can say that, okay, I did it my way. I did it the way I like, I got this experience out of my system. I'll find a different creative pursuit, but I'm not selling it out.
Bro,
I don't need to.
Early days, right before we were launching, we've been building inventory. There were times we had this, task, we had this tension to untie. We're like, dude, what can we say? What can't we say?
Yeah.
We have a lot of hamstrings, a lot of handicaps that a lot of people otherwise maybe would not have.
Yeah.
And yet we're, doing our best to say what we can.
Yeah.
Like no one is here sitting here and claiming that, oh, this is like revolution central, bro.
No,
that's
no,
that's really not the
we
point.
have our
right?
red lines,
Yeah.
bro. Like I
We
have my red
absolutely
line,
do.
you have your red line where it's like, yaar, baap ne bola, abhi reel utaro.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, straight up. Like it
it's
happens.
like that,
yeah.
right? Like I will call you and I'll be like, bro, this for me,
Yeah.
not this week, bro.
Not
this week.
Not this week.
Not this
Papa
week.
se call aaya hai, abhi utaro.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
So it's
it happens.
and sometimes, people are like, oh, everyone has always been very amicable. I have not had a single in-person bad experience, by the way.
I've had a few.
People, I actually haven't. I have people come up to me at restaurants. I have acquaintances I haven't seen in ages coming up to me at like some GT or some shadi and being like, oh, love what you're doing. And I know by the immediate profile of this person that they do not agree with me on anything. Yet they have the decency to come and say that, oh, like, you're hustling, you're doing something cool, like, props to you. And I'm the same with people as well, bro. I know you're the same with people. We look at people and are like, okay, yeah, ideologically, I know we don't see eye to eye or anything. But the fact that you've gone out on a limb rather than being a comment hater and actually done something, built up something unique, like, I can confidently say that we've got a combination here, whatever you may think of it. Like, I think that we've began a journey in which we're doing something that's truly unique in the Pakistani ecosystem, and that's what drives me to keep coming back to this and keep giving this time. And it is definitely the most fulfilling thing. Like, I do enjoy my job.
Yeah.
I'm also studying. I do enjoy my padhai. But this is the most fulfilling thing. And like, again, you've got the whole like credentialist, like what gives you the right to speak about these things.
I did.
And
I gave myself the right. Maybe you should give yourself the right.
Have some confidence.
Yeah,
like have some
exactly.
confidence in yourself. Like I genuinely, like when people come and say that, it's like all you're telling me is you are projecting the fact that you don't have the self-esteem to form your own opinions, right? I remember like I did that one reel which went kind of viral about people having too much of their net worth in cars, right? And someone was like, oh, I was like, no, like I am actually qualified to talk about this. Like, if you really care about that, like the argument stands either way. And another time, like recently,
and if it's like, oh, but that's not a qualification, you know what you should say?
Yeah.
This is my qualification.
Yeah, no,
literally, my followers are my qualification. I have an audience.
But
you.
What I see more often than not is like, like obviously because I work in finance, I showed it to like my colleagues, my seniors, and they were all like, dude, exactly, like this is such a big issue. And like the people who felt, it's always the people who feel attacked by it. The people who feel attacked by it are like, oh, who are you to speak about this? I say, bro, I'm not going to come and plaster my degree. I don't want to make this about that, right? Or then it's like, I remember like when you recently, even reposted that reel about the Neo-Islamic Caliphate, the, Islamic NATO, that thing, where we were early on
We were talking about it back in like December, man.
Yeah. And we've been talking about it, right? Early on. And now if someone came and said to you, and even though, I mean, you have literally studied this as a degree, right?
Yeah.
But if someone, and even now I'm not going to say what you studied as I don't want to make that a part of the conversation, but you have studied this, right? That's not relevant to whether the argument actually stands logical scrutiny.
Yeah.
I remember in that same episode, I was talking about, we were talking about the Pakistan's balancing act in Libya and Sudan, and saying that, they've done a brilliant job. And I was trying to explain what exactly is happening there, right? And how we split up our stakes in a brilliant way.
Yes.
Bro, there were people in the comments like, there was actually a foreign service official who was like, who gave you these ideas and this and that? And it's like, actually, what actually happened was where I got that line of reasoning from was earlier that week, I had lunch with a former federal minister who was deeply, intimately involved in those things.
Yeah.
He, on a first name basis, knows the top leadership of a lot of those countries, right? And he was like, because I had that kind of relationship with him, he was quizzing me on it. He's like, what do you think's happening? And then I told him my side, and he was like, yeah, that's exactly right. Like that's what the view is in the community, in the security diplomatic community. Now, what I'm trying to get at here is that I wasn't right because he told me something.
Yeah.
And I wasn't wrong because he told me something either. If you can't individually evaluate something for what it is, and you need like a thappa, a stamp or degree for you to form your opinion, then congratulations, you are at the mercy of a mainstream media that is owned by states, that is owned by corporate interests for the rest of your life, because those are the people who routinely recruit and brandish those sorts of identities, those sorts of qualifications.
Yeah.
Right? Even with the Mehdi Hassan thing, I'm going to wrap up here. We're ranting a bit. But even with the Mehdi Hassan thing, I remember, all the credentialist chatter, and there were people like, oh, when Mehdi has this, and this. It's like, I promise you, the pro-Zionist side in America has a lot more Ivy League degrees, has a lot more think tanks, and has a lot more capital committed to it. So if you're in absentia, in a vacuum, if your reasoning is credentials, we are brown third worlders. We are brown,
outgunned more than you can imagine.
Bro, we are Pakistani Muzzies, Muslims, second class, globally second class, no matter what we do, you will always lose.
Yeah.
So we should be the last people who are getting stuck up on these things.
You'll have Alan Dershowitz, the greatest lawyer in the world, pull up and like, actually.
Oh, he has a JD from Harvard, so actually we have to listen to him now. Do you think increasing salaries in the public sector will reduce corruption in the Pakistani civil service?
Man, the thing is that I feel like yes, I think it would reduce corruption, but my answer is something that I'm going to derive from first principles, which is that, look, how do you get the best people into the most important jobs? You pay them, right? You got to pay them high. Why would a kid who's got like 140, 150 IQ, he's like a straight A student, want to be a government employee if he knows he can get like a crazy salary in tech or finance or
just go abroad?
Or just go abroad and do something, right? Do you want to attract him? You have to give him a reason to stay, right? I would assume that we want the smartest, best, most competent people in those type of jobs, right? And how do we get them there? We pay them, right? So just on a first principle basis, like I do think like, okay, like if you're the prime minister of a country the size of Pakistan, right, your salary should be $20-30 million. It's a very, very stupid low IQ argument, but like how much is this country worth? Let's say a $500 billion company, their CEO is going to be on a $30, $40, $50 million paycheck with incentives, right?
You're taking a Singaporean logic here.
Yeah. A country is not a company, but there are some similarities, right? There are a lot of moving parts, right? So I want to get that smartest motherfucker in the game to this post so that he can delegate and he can run things. And the same thing applicable to, your big post, you're the head of the tax authority, the head of the customs, so that these intelligent people can make intelligent systems. And for that, you got to pay them, right? So I do think in theory, like, just to have like outwardly high salaries for your top bureaucrats, your top ministers, your top prime minister, whatever, yeah, it makes sense. Like that's how you would want to run an efficient machine. That's how you attract the best talent, right? So absolutely, yeah. I think it
So-
would reduce corruption on paper.
So there's two things.
Yeah.
One, in the immediate scenario, I don't think it would, because someone right now, you've got a ridiculous system where a federal secretary or an IG is making, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 lakhs a month.
Yeah.
Right. You've got perks worth literally dozens or 100 times that. Right.
Yeah.
You've got perks that are in the hundreds of millions, billions of rupees.
Yeah.
And you have a minuscule salary to match that.
Yeah.
You're systemically incentivizing corruption.
Yeah.
Because you're showing someone that you've got this life as while you're occupying this post, and there's no way that you can maintain it after.
Yeah.
Does that morally justify corruption? Of course not.
Yeah.
Right? But this is not like, we're not like playing God and trying to determine what everyone's internal moral compass is. Systemic incentives are a thing, pay structures are a thing. Just the way you treat incentives in a private company, you should also treat them similarly to some extent, as much as possible, in a public company.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, in today's day, we can't go Singapore. We don't have enough money to go Singapore and say, this is how much we're going to pay like several $1 million ka bonus to a minister or secretary.
Yeah.
But it gets worse because right now, the reason I don't think it'll decrease corruption is you're not competing with the 5-7 lakh rupee ki salary. You're not comparing that to a corporate salary of 20, 30, 40, 50 lakhs, right? Which is now not too uncommon. Like that's a realistic salary people get in Pakistan.
Yeah.
You're not comparing 5 lakhs to 30. You're comparing 5 lakhs to several crores of unchecked, undocumented income a month.
Yeah.
So giving them 20, 30, 40, 50 lakhs is not actually going to, the bureaucrat as he stands now, reduces corruption. But I think what you said earlier actually does make a lot of sense, which is that private sector comparable or better compensation, if you gave that to the civil service, it would attract people who are otherwise looking to the private sector because they know कि civil service में कोई अगर वो clean रहे, right? There's no, at 60 up, you'd be sitting with nothing.
Yeah.
That's what they think right now. It would motivate those people to actually join the civil service.
Yeah.
If people who right now go to the Middle East, Europe's becoming increasingly more difficult, America's difficult, but people who go to the Middle East, right, they have obviously better salaries than here. But if you started paying public sector employees handsomely, differential itna great nahi hoga, because they'll still have some sort of perks. Obviously cost of living here is much lower. So right now, if you're a young man who's leaving here and supporting his family bahar se from the Middle East through any kind of remittance, yes, you're sending a chunk of income home, but you're also spending a lot of money there, right? Overall, you could end up in a materially better position. I'll give you an example of someone I knew who was he was a government driver. He was given the option of going to either Manchester or Iran to serve as a driver in a consulate. Right? He chose Iran because he said that his logic was, I don't know exactly how this plays out mathematically, but this is what he told me. He said, I chose Iran because Manchester mein obviously you get paid a lot more, but cost of living is a lot higher as well. So if I go to Iran, I'll end up saving more money. Right? But it's that's how I'm thinking about it. And ultimately, in the long run, once you're a bit fiscally better off, then maybe you can have incentive-based targets. Already, आपकी कुछ महकमों में होता है सरकारी कि आपकी रिकवरी पे, I believe, आपको कमीशन मिलता है, कोई बोनस मिलता है. But ultimately, ये चीज़ तो institutionally should be built into customs, FIA, etc. कि आपने अगर कोई रिकवरी की है, आपको उसके ऊपर एक you should get a financial reward for that. It should be an institutionalized thing in these all the mehkme that deal with money.
For sure, I mean, you know much better about the particulars of a field like this. I only understand like the theory part of it. A person who does have very interesting theory about it, we've talked about him before even briefly, is Yarvin. And the
Yeah.
bulk of Curtis Yarvin's work is to do with how can we run the country as efficiently as possible. And coming back to what you were saying earlier, I don't know if it would decrease corruption, how much it would decrease corruption, or when it would decrease corruption. There'll probably be a time lag that there normally is with any policy you make. But in the long run, it should increase efficiency. And look, okay, corruption is a problem, but corruption exists in, I would say, every country in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Corruption is. I mean, let's look at China. It does exist there. Let's
course.
like the Chinese state officials, the party member. Like everyone has seen the memes. Everyone has seen things these guys get up to. But if you can be efficient, right, it's okay. I don't mind a bit of corruption if it means that I'm getting the most efficient system possible. Like corruption is it's like an emotional thing where it's like, oh, why is this? If they're being unfair, it really gets people in their fields and stuff. But if somebody's efficient, I'm okay with it. Like it's fine. The way to negate all of this in total, I think, is that Yarvin has some good work on this. Okay, Yarvin is meme today. Yarvin has a lot of bad ideas, sure, but the one particular thing about the soft corp and how to make your country run as efficiently as possible and stuff, it should be modeled. At least take some principles from a business, and a part of that is that, look, I think the example he gave is like, bro, do you think Tim Cook would run USA better, or any like politician? Would Steve Jobs be a better president if he had the gearings for that role, or any guy you have? Probably Steve Jobs, right?
So
He's just smarter. He's just more of a visionary, right? You want those type of guys running your country.
So,
They're the visionary. They're the intellectual elite.
I think that the reason I don't ultimately agree with the Yarvin position, but I'll tell you where I find wisdom in it.
Yeah.
Where I find wisdom in it is that I believe in truly empowered executive function.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think it needs to be soft corp model at all. I don't think that's a good thing. I think the Singaporean thing can be good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a necessary precondition. As it comes to the corruption angle, the position you painted out in Pakistani parlance is the khata bhi hai to lagata bhi hai.
Yeah.
Right. Which is, and I'm not moralizing at you here, right? The reason, I mean, one, against principally, obviously, we don't think corruption's a good thing. Like that, let's get that out of the way, right?
Yeah.
But the real life, like, it makes a material difference to the lives of people, right? Corruption, right? In the sense that there's always a bargain, in the sense that, okay, like you see in our city, you see one road being made and then again being made and then again being made, and obviously all things are not well there, right?
Let's put it like this.
So there's a real cost to it, and I think that it's not as like structural accommodation of, like, okay, listen, there's the Yakuza model, like in Japan, right, where you structurally accommodated not just corruption but actual crime. Right. And then there's the American model, which is, because we've legalized certain types of lobbying, right, there's basically checked, unchecked money by the tens of billions in politics, right? These are all, in my view, in my moral view, and also to some extent empirically, these are forms of outsized influence and corruption.
No, and I agree with you there. And I think Yarvin also gives this particular example of Singapore. Like, how do we do away with this? Oh, make these the most important, most paid, highly paid motherfuckers in the country. Then you're going to have people whose payment and pay bonus is directly tied with the performance of the country, right? You need to align private ambition with public good. How do you do that? What you said earlier, you want higher executive power, but you don't want some idiot having that executive power, right? You want a guy who's really, you want Steve Jobs to have that executive power, right? So I think it goes part and parcel. How do we align private and public incentives? And that is, you pay them well enough to where, hey, you know what? I'm making $100 million being the CEO of America. Yeah, I'm down. You know what I mean?
CEO of America.
Yeah. You get what I mean?
You know, the
CEO,
thing
monarch, prime minister, president, king, whatever, you know?
People will like take the Yarvin example as loaded and try to say that, you're going like handing everything over to the merchants. I don't even think it's that at all, right? It's not at all. The reason, I actually think that it's some compromise between China and Singapore, in the sense that when I think of this,
Yeah.
when I think of a highly incentivized, highly productive, generalist cadres or specialist cadres of bureaucracy in Pakistan that could potentially emerge, there's today's limited logic
Yeah.
in which privatizing a lot of liability-ridden state assets, whether it's PIA, whether it's a discos, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, if a company's, inflicting the national exchequer with a 20 billion rupee loss every year, it is only logical to offload it.
Yeah.
Right? But this is within the realm of neoliberal possibilities.
Yeah.
This is within the IMF umbrella.
Yeah.
The ideal scenario is
the state holds on to those.
the state holds on to those things.
Look,
Your
here's the thing.
public balance sheet,
Yeah.
which is what you borrow against, which is what you give guarantees against,
Yeah.
which is what public wealth, the wealth of the people is,
Yeah.
which is Pakistan's family silver,
Yeah.
should not be drawn, quartered, and sold off if you can avoid it. Just to clarify, I'm not moralizing today's process.
Yeah.
A lot of
I don't think
these
you are.
in today's limited logic are necessary, but we should be striving towards a Pakistan where you look at State Life Corporation, which has recently turned highly profitable because its leadership is fantastic.
Yeah.
Has a $6 to $7 billion asset base, ridiculous. There's no reason to privatize that.
Yeah.
I want that to be more SOEs, more state-owned enterprises, where you say that, look, that actually we would like have some kind of list them, let the public buy into them, let people build wealth in other ways, have ESOPs. There's a billion ways to do this, right?
Yep.
Financial engineering done right,
Yeah.
right? Minus over financialization can actually be a very good thing.
No, I agree
right?
with you.
And I know I'm not negating you in any way.
Yeah.
And just gonna wrap this up by saying that that is the kind of Pakistan we should work towards, where we can retain the family silver,
Yeah.
polish it up, keep it in the family,
Yeah.
and build long-term public wealth. If you look at the UK right now, we'll put up some information after. I forgot, I haven't studied this in a few months. But look at the long-term deterioration of public wealth, and where does all that wealth go to?
In private
Drawn,
hands.
quartered, sold off to, and it's not going to SMEs, bro.
Yeah.
It's being given to the only conglomerates that can handle it, which
Yeah.
are the biggest of the big right now.
Okay.
So we need to moderate this, is what I'm saying.
I know, I agree with you, but what I'm trying to get at is that, okay, you said something very, very, that shed light. You're like, we can't hand it all over to the merchants.
Yeah.
Okay. Bro, the thing is that in today's world, right, the way the modern economies function, right, is that your smartest, most competent, most brilliant people are merchants, are of the merchant class. Okay. If you were in like 11th century Arabia and stuff and you want to get rich, you could go be a merchant. What field actually attracted the most intelligent, competent people? Or in Rome?
Scholarship.
No, absolutely not.
Statesman.
The military. How do you want to get rich? If you became a commander, right? If you became a praetor in the Roman army or something, and it's like, this is my band of like 10, 20,000 people. We're going to go conquer. We're going to take some stuff. We're going to get rich off of it. The way to get rich was that you had to be in the military, right? So society's most competent people ended up in the military because that was the best way for them to get rich, In the modern world, this has changed. Now the most competent people, I think if Steve Jobs was there in 200 AD, he wouldn't have been a merchant. He would have probably chosen to be a military commander, right? Because that's where the most competent people in your society were ending up. That was the best way to make money. That was the best way to gain prestige and power in society,
I have an interesting question.
So what I'm getting at over here is that, look, what I'm not arguing for is that we need to give to the merchants. We need to break the merchant monopoly on elite human capital.
Absolutely.
And how do you do that? You make the military, you make the government, you make these things
100%.
attractive enough as sources of wealth, of sources of material betterment, as avenues of status betterment as the merchant arena is. Because today, if you're a brilliant person, there's no reason for you not to be a merchant.
I will
that's
pose
what I'm
this,
getting at.
I will draw this dichotomy here and ask you this question.
Yeah.
Too. What I conclude based off all of this is either you go for the theoretically best statesman ruling class.
Yeah.
You either go full republic, where there's separate class, they're not allowed to have any private property, and you genuinely cordon
Establish
off
socialism.
Yeah, you take 20 of the most brilliant kids from like a middle school class. You shut them off in like some homestead in Sawabi,
Yeah.
and for 30 years you raise like the next ruling class, and it's like, okay, your cabinet was chosen when they were like 9 years old,
Yeah.
right? Or, and obviously these are theoretical extremes,
Yeah.
right? A real dispensation would look like some compromise between both, probably. The other end of this is full Singapore incentivize elite human capital through the spoils of governance,
Yeah.
right?
I think the
It's
latter
interesting.
thing, whereas again, this is where libertarian arguments have a lot of good intellectual merit, is that let the market decide. We don't have to like engineer a bunch of 5-year-old kids who we've decided like these are going to be a ruling class, right? Just set up the incentives in a certain way. Show me the incentives, I'll show you the outcomes,
But
right?
again, now
If the incentives are that, bro, if you are the CEO of Pakistan, yeah, you're getting a $60-70 million salary and like, damn, like, you know, it's all untaxed and you get a plane and you get this and that. It's like, you know, there's going to be the valedictorian of KGS class of 2030 that's looking at that and be like, you know, you get what I mean. So I'm not in favor of like, you know, let's set up like a
Yeah.
platonic, you know, social engineering thing. Just set up
But
the
here's
incentives
the-
in a way.
so-
How can we get the elite human capital to look at things other than being a merchant?
So a natural objection to this would
Yeah.
be, well, before I get into that,
Yeah.
you know, age-old pre-Babylonian maxim of balancing the merchant and the king, right? So theoretically, what the king should be doing, right? The king should actually, the CEO or the prime minister should not actually be the king.
Yeah.
In the sense that there should be, whether it's a trans-temporal constitution, set of aims, whether you're using, you know, a new objectives resolution, whether it's a council of elders. In short, there is some, you know, vision for a neo-Pakistan,
Yeah.
right? The person or council or maker of that vision needs to set objectives in a very particular way. Like, it can't be GDP maxing, right? Because those are the most quantifiable,
Yeah.
right? At the very least, you're going like Gini coefficient, okay? Like, okay, I'm not, you have an X amount of 10% bonus
Yeah.
for growing the GDP, but you have a 15% bonus for reducing the Gini coefficient.
Yeah.
Or improving the Gini coefficient.
I mean, I'm sure,
Right?
we're getting into the
You know-
particulars how do you want to incentivize this
No,
person. And I agree with you. It
the
needs to
reason
be a
it's
basket of
important
things. Yeah, I agree
is
with you.
because if people will hear this and think that, oh, we're saying go full libertarian, go full capitalist, hand everything over. No, we're saying empower and incentivize the better functioning of the state.
Yeah, like,
and that does not just mean like, oh, GDP improved.
Yeah.
It means all health sector markers and all the good stuff. All
you
the
need
good
to set
stuff.
KPI. You
Yeah,
need to set a
exactly.
mixed bag of KPIs.
Yeah.
Some is GDP, some is Gini coefficient, some is autarky, something
exactly.
is self-reliance.
Autarky is very important.
Autarky is very, very important. Something can be crime, and through a bundle of those
Exactly.
incentives, you can come up with, okay, 50 million base plus 50 million commission.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm cool with all of that. I do not want but here's the thing where I push back. I do want him to have absolute king-like power, because I wouldn't want the sovereign to have to deal with day-to-day politicking at all. I just want to make sure the guardrails are solid enough to make sure that the right guy gets there. And once the right guy gets there, I don't want him to deal with politicking and unions and this and that. Steve Jobs doesn't have to deal with the, you know, politicking and stuff. Steve Jobs is Steve Jobs because he can just focus on the long-term vision and what we have to do. And that's the type of king-like executive power that he should have in theory. Make sure the guardrails, make sure we get that guy, and not a second of his time should be spent on politicking and engaging in goyim shit.
So I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Let me re-explain what I meant. I think I was a bit unclear.
No, I got what you mean. We should the incentivization of
No,
this
no,
guy,
I just-
it needs to be a mixed bag, right?
Yeah, no. Even specifically with this,
Yeah.
I said it even earlier in this recording that I'm very pro vast executive function, right? So definitely there shouldn't be any day-to-day firefighting, party-bazi politicking. I think all of that is actual slop. It is the greatest deception of our times. We also live in a country where there's so many parties and everyone essentially believes the same thing. No one really stands for anything that's particularly different. That's the kind of statement that makes everyone who supports a party angry.
Yeah.
But it's like if the party you support has ever ruled this country, tell me what major ideological shift it brought about. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to point out. There are some changes, but by and large, political parties do not run on ideological agendas in our country. But
Yeah.
anyways, what I was saying was that when I look at the agenda setting of Pakistan more broadly, what I was referring to as the creative process was something that I imagined to come before the creation of this ideal state, as in that creative / revolutionary process, you have set these objectives. Not the literal objectives, but what are the broad KPIs we're working for. And then thereafter, an empowered executive is installed, and then he reigns. That's
Not
what I was
against
trying to get at.
Not
Yeah,
against
yeah.
that, yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. Yarvin's very, very creative solution to this. The board of directors or the board that gives the KPI over to the executive form are like your biggest landowners because their wealth is derived from, the highest valuation on the land. People want to move to your country. Why? Because it's super, super profitable. And how do you know it's super, super profitable? The land value goes high. So the people who have the highest amount of land values, it's a very creative. I don't know how
I mean, this is a
out.
new feudalism.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy to me.
yeah.
I don't agree with that
to
at
buy
all.
stock in this supposed soft corp is you literally buy land.
Yeah, no, I
That's the
understand
idea.
that.
And like people are going to want to move. You want to buy Apple stock because it's valuable, right? You want to buy land in Pakistan because it's valuable. And how do you know it's valuable? You have this excellent executive function and stuff going on. Here the stuff gets a little bit like okay, this is too abstract. I don't know how this would work out. I don't know the drawbacks of this.
No, I think that's terrible, bro.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
There's some like issues with this. I don't want to jump and say it's terrible, but like if we can identify problems.
No,
with
but
it,
how is it any different from feudalism?
Because it's not like I don't know, man. I haven't.
But
thought
land
it through.
ownership is literally
Yeah, but I haven't thought it through that deep. I don't
Yeah.
know how this thing would function exactly. But the idea of an empowered executive who doesn't have to deal with day-to-day politicking and who is highly paid and is a genius. I like that. That I like.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
I like it.
That's great.
Fascism is when I don't like something, but like I like this. That's the issue. And it might be like 2 steps above fascism, but that's okay. I'm low-key a bit of a fascist.
So something that I've really been a hallmark of Pakistani social media is reeling against corruption.
Yeah.
Speaking up against corruption. This is a good thing, obviously, but I think it also lacks a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Because the thing that keeps coming to my mind is, would the vast majority of Pakistanis, were they given power, be able to resist actually engaging in corruption?
Yeah.
So it's very easy to say कि ये बंदा corrupt है, इस बंदे ने पैसे खाए हैं, and you should say those things.
Yeah.
Again, but saying that from a position of moral superiority, when it really is the from the tomato wala cheating you to like some like assistant director asking you for some gandhi rishwat somewhere to top level. So it's diffused.
Yeah.
So the point being, how many people really would be able to resist doing corruption were they given positions of power?
But the thing is that the entire corruption conversation, right? And I'm not saying it's not an important conversation. It is important, and we just had it a little bit of it a while ago about the bureaucracy, payments, and stuff. But it really strikes me as super low status. If you're getting it's like you're super low status. Like if you're getting so fucking bothered about corruption that you're making it your entire thing, it's like you're kind of telling on yourself.
How is this? I would love to hear this.
Because it's like, here's the thing, man. Exactly. You pointed out. What would you do if you were in that spot? Maybe the same, maybe not. Are you really that morally outstanding? How can you judge if you have never been in that spot, right? And it strikes me a little bit of sour grip. That's not to say the corruption conversation is not important. That is to say that a lot of people engage with it from a sense of ressentiment. I'm not here making excuse for people who do massive amounts of corruption, but I am saying most of the people who are the loudest about it are slave moralists. That's what I'm trying to say.
And one
I'm not diagnosing the economics, the social.
Yeah.
I'm just diagnosing the psychological implications of the corruption conversation in the way it's presented.
I actually love likening this to VIP culture.
Yeah.
Because people only dislike VIP culture in Pakistan when it's the party they don't like that's doing it.
Yeah.
Right? When their own, when they're उनके अपना chief minister, prime minister कोई भी हो and वो private jet में जा रहा है ना, वो बोले यार क्या swag है इसका.
Yeah.
वो 100 गाड़ियों की motorcade लेके जा रहा है, वो बोले यार क्या बात है इसकी, उसकी sigma edits बन रही होंगी.
It's one big circle jerk. And
right?
if you take it seriously, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're a low tier Goyflop Hilek. Like
this is the level of analysis. This is ये वो लोग हैं who see like you know, इस सरकारी महकमे ने अपने 18 ग्रेड के अफसरों के लिए 30 यारिसेस लिए हैं इस साल में. It's like, I understand the instinct towards austerity in a fiscally distressed country. That is important, but this is the ultimate truck की बत्ती. This is actually, it's like ये lollipop है, ये तुम लेके बैठो, वो ये 30 गाड़ियां लेनी. I promise you, this is not even a grain of sand in your national budget. There are other things that are actually, there are actually other corruption conversations too that are more worthwhile that having. Right?
What's worthwhile having is actually like long-term strategic direction.
Systemic change.
Systemic, like what policy do we need? Hey, you know what? How about we cut down the subsidies and cut down the taxes both, so that, you know, the SMEs can actually benefit off of some sort of wealth transfer, you know? So like, let's have these type of conversations. That's something fun. There's actually something fresh to have there, instead of just saying, oh, corruption, sir. This, you know what I mean?
And that can be, look, if you're a politician, it's only sensible for you to harness that sentiment to use it against your opponents, right? But you owe people who are being used and abused in this fight between the oligarchs, right? You should sit down with yourself for a second and think, bhai, in a country where in 79 years, no reasonable person who is not tied to a particular faction will ever say that in a developing, troubled country like ours, there's ever been a moment in 79 years jahan, to some level, there wasn't some public malfeasance or corruption happening. Of course, it's a inbuilt feature, an unfortunate feature of a third or developing country, right?
Every country.
The
conversation needs to be more about policy. What policy do we need as people? Okay, how can government benefit me? Like, can you guys cut the taxes a little bit? You know, can you? I don't need your subsidy, government. Just cut the taxes so that I can actually like benefit off of this. You know, like I keep going on this example because I've really been thinking about it. But like policy level conversation is like actually like, okay, look, how can I gain something out of this entire arrangement? Corruption conversation that really they're just circle jerks.
No, of course, but there is the policy conversation is something that stays relevant throughout. You can use it as a foil for any low status mudslinging discourse that's happening, right? But I'm trying to ground the corruption, ressentiment, adjacent, public anger fueled conversation in particular. You know, that because I do think that needs to be talked about. I do think it's linked to the VIP culture thing where it's like, you know, mera wala great, tumhara wala.
I do think there's an angle of like, bro, if you're in that type of a seat of power, like, don't be a fucking retard. Like, you know, you don't have to do all of this stuff. Like, you don't have to be rocking up with like a $700,000 watch. Like, everyone
knows
crazy
who you, to me,
like,
bro.
you know, everyone knows who you are. Everyone knows how much money you have. You don't have to be fucking Marie Antoinetting the out of the people. Like, you don't have to be doing that. So to that degree where it's like, yeah, I agree with some of it. Like, don't people off. Like, you know, don't them off. You know, just be a fucking human being about it.
So this is what's interesting in Pakistan, right? Where there's the angle of when a politician goes very well dressed up to a place, right? Some people find it, the fans of that politician find it aspirational, right? They're like, one day we could be this guy. It's like, you know, the American like middle class instinct of we're never going to raise taxes because we could be the millionaire one day. I'm not passing a moral judgment on that. I'm just saying like that's like the, you know, the like world in my eyes kind of like thinking. And then the detractors will always be like, actually, you know, it's really insensitive of you
Yeah.
to rock up with the $700,000
Yeah.
watch to a village where like people don't have like.
But I'm
Bijli,
not even arguing
right?
that it's insensitive. I'm arguing that how fucking mentally weak do you have to be to have to do that? Like, do you remember the
No,
story?
I actually think it's insensitive. I actually take it more.
It is
sounds
that, but
because, bro,
my main
I
problem with
remember-
it, I agree it is
yeah.
insensitive. My bigger problem with it is what does it say about that person's psychology? You remember this one MDB case in which the Malaysian like prime minister's wife or somebody was found to have like ridiculous amounts of like fucking crocodile bags and jewelry and watches and stuff. It's like, brother, like I get it if like, you know, you're some nouveau person who needs to prove their status to the world. I get it. You want to engage in this stuff, but you literally fucking run the country.
Yeah.
You're literally
It's
worth
crazy.
tens of billions of dollars. Like you do not need to do
Yeah,
this. Like, you know, if you're like some dictator of some third world African country and you're pulling up with the fucking $10 million Jacob and Co. watch, like bro, you do not need to be doing
you've
this.
seen all
Like
those-
you're like, bro, your status, you have this high status and you have this position of power not because of that watch. You don't have to show it to the world. You get what I mean?
You've seen those
It's
posts?
really undignified.
You've seen the posts which are comparing like it's Macron's watch, which is like, you know, I don't know.
It's like a $3,000, $4,000 Omega or a Bell and Ross or something.
And then it's the president of Iraq, and he's wearing like a I think it's like it's a world time.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
a Patek world time. So that's one of the things. And I remember, you know, the one thing I always think of is I remember I was I was somewhere in Europe for a vacation a few years ago, and I asked a friend of mine. This is when I was younger. I was like 17 or something. I asked a friend of mine because I'd gone on a trip to see him somewhere. I asked him to, and I didn't bring a lot of money with me, and I was like, "Yo, like, can you just like buy this thing for me?" It was like some ridiculously expensive item of clothing. And I was like, can you get this for me? Like, I'll just like whatever transfer you tomorrow or whatever. And he's like, yeah, sure, or whatever. And then later I got the thing, and then my dad later said to me, he was like, yo, you know, even if it were my own brother, who would have looked at a thing and said, oh, what a crazy amount to spend money on.
Yeah.
Right? What a crazy amount of money to spend on this thing.
Yeah.
I would not have made him buy it for me.
Yeah.
So you're just like a little thing. It was like, you know, be a little. It wasn't like, it wasn't telling me off, but it was a bit of like, you know, have a little sensitivity to.
Look, I don't have a problem if it's something that you're buying for yourself and you want to spend some money. I really don't care. Like, I'd be a hypocrite if I said that. Like, you know, I like clothes.
No,
you
no,
know?
no. What I'm
But
saying is
my-
specifically, as in, for example, bro, imagine like you, someone's struggling.
Yeah.
Okay. And you and they're going somewhere. You give them like $5,000 to get you like a pair of like a jacket. Okay?
Yeah.
I would probably not do that.
Yeah,
Because someone,
probably
that's
not.
what I'm saying,
Yeah, it
right?
looks
If
bad.
someone's
Yeah,
struggling,
yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the thing in and of itself.
Yeah.
Is that particular exchange of
Okay,
you
got it,
don't
got it,
need
got
to
it.
flaunt it in front of people.
You know,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you. And it's like, from their perspective, like insensitive, yes, but it's just like, bro, this is really, this is weak. This is weak. Like you.
This is not a national discourse agenda.
You're a beast and you're a gangster, but it's not because of this. It's because of everything other than this. Like this is, you don't need to do this. This is like, you know, I'll tell you, I was reading this article about how there was like there's like, you know, head of VIP client at Loro Piano or somebody who gave an interview, and you're like, you know, the biggest spenders who end up coming into the store, they're wearing like plain t-shirts or gym shorts and stuff, and it turns out like these guys have racked up a $40,000-$50,000 bill on cashmere. And like
Yo,
the people
bro,
who come in
you're
more
wearing
decked
you're
out-
wearing just a t-shirt.
Huh?
You're wearing just a t-shirt.
Yeah.
What does this say about you?
Nothing. They said nothing about me. But the people who are coming out most decked out to the store to buy, like, you know, they're like, bro, like they put on their best fucking outfit possible. It's like they normally come in to buy like the shoes or like a wallet or like a cap. Like,
The cap, bro, the cap.
Yeah, they come in to get the fucking cap. But it's like the craziest spenders are coming in, like, you know, like total fucking like gym bros or like, you know, like nerds. Like I literally don't give a and I'm just coming in and I'm just spending, you know. And the point of this being, it's like, bro, if you're actually on that level where this is a joke to you, it's literally like fun coupon, like a Nautilus or something is a fun coupon for you. A fucking RM is a fun coupon for you. Like you do not need to wear it.
But it's
Like, you
also
literally do not.
like a
You know what I mean?
small example of that is also like if you're going out to eat to like a quote unquote fancy restaurant, people who are like really obsessed with dressing up for it.
Yeah.
I don't like. Yeah, like sometimes okay, you want
Yeah.
if it's an occasion,
Yeah.
if it's a birthday,
restaurants
you
have,
want to
like,
look
dress
nice.
codes, to be fair. Like, that's a different
You want to look nice,
conversation, yeah.
but it's like okay, like you're going somewhere and just because it's expensive, you're getting like super decked out. Like you don't need like no one's watching you, buddy. No, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Like
No, people are watching you, and I get it. It's because they're watching you because you're like some goem, and like it matters. Like,
Yeah,
for you, it
yeah,
matters.
yeah.
Like for me, like I should be getting decked out because I'm a fucking nobody. But if you're a fucking somebody of the highest order, you do not. Get
yeah, you actually.
If
just
that's my argument.
You don't
Like
need
it
to.
makes sense for us, like slightly more privileged goem to be like, yeah,
Yeah.
let me flex, let me get into the rat race. But if you're literally the fucking head of state,
Yeah,
if you're literally
yeah.
like the
a
fucking
bit
African
crazy.
dictator, well, chill out. Like
a
you
bit
have
crazy.
status, and it's not because of this.
The African
You get-
dictators, I bet, have the best watch collections.
Yeah, it's like, well, you do not need to do all of this. It's also partly because if tomorrow, like, they're going to get, like, overthrown, it's like, I've got, like, $20 million of watch that I can just liquidate anywhere in the world. So it makes
Yeah, it's
sense.
like the ultimate doomsday insurance.
Huh?
It's like the ultimate doomsday
Bro, tell
insurance.
me another-
like
tell
even
me
if the
another
even if the
thing
market
beside-
falls, how much will it fall?
Bro, tell me an item that is not watches that you can literally, like, put it in your fucking
Carry
hand
across
carry,
borders, yeah.
Carry it cross border, and it's like, I've got a few $1 million on me
Yeah,
right now,
that's
bro.
crazy.
It's like, it's a fantastic financial
Like if
asset
you're
in that
taking
sense.
an RM out of Karachi, right, and it's like a
Like,
$500,000 watch.
Imagine the guy at the board is like,
Wait,
Sir, are you
like-
taking out $5,000? No, I've got no cash on me. I just have this $2 million
ये
watch.
खिलौने
in my
जैसी लगती है घड़ी आपकी तो
हाँ।
FIA वाला आपको बोलेगा कि यार ये तो
They're
ये तो
sharper than
टॉय
you
वॉच
think.
लगती
They're
है
sharp.